Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today I attempt a level record run, but it's less of, hey, I actually want to attempt the highest level possible, and more, I saw what you usually go for, and I want to try out some things. Not because I specifically think they are better, but I want to see how they perform. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but we'll see it very soon, and yes, the level will be 256. That is not a little amount. Now, I got quite lucky. You want to have as much curse as possible, so a ton of enemies spawn, and I got this school insanely early. You know, it sounds amazing, but you'll quickly notice, it's not that amazing. Like, it's great, right? But the enemies become so strong that I can't kill them anymore. And yes, I'm of course intentionally dying here to get the buffs from the Arcana that gives you additional stats whenever you die. But very soon I realize I'm not killing them. They are so fast that I can't really escape them, and because I'm greedy, I'll go for Skull again. In fact, I'll max it out whenever it comes, right? Like, whenever it shows up, I will go further until it's maxed out. Was it a good idea? I don't think so. I think I could have had a way better start just skipping 1 or 2 levels in it, making sure that I have my guns upgraded, and then maxing it out. But aside from that, you know, looks really good, looks a bit dangerous. I think I have 1 revival left, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the point where I have to become really careful. I might have 2 revivals left, I'm not too sure, I didn't count here. In total we have 4 revivals. Oh, there's +1, okay, yeah. This is my last revival, so this is where it becomes really dangerous. And also the moment where I realized, wait a second, I don't want to lose the revival yet. Otherwise I have nothing left, right, if something bad happens. And this is why I'm trying to escape them while still circling around them to get a lot of kills. And now I'm just hiding in the cats. Stopped already, and as you can see I'm surrounded, I'll take damage. The only thing that I have going is the passive healing that I have. And again, before you say, yeah but Dex, you shouldn't walk through them then, or stuff like this. Yes, you are not wrong. But then I get less kills and less experience, and this is all about optimizing as much as possible. If you take a look at the timestamp, we just jumped a minute. I took a lot of time to consider whether I can go for Clover or not, and I'm not sold on the entire idea. Pretty much the idea is we have more luck, that means we have more fighting kitties, we get more chickens so they get more damage, we have an insane amount of bonus might, so this character gets 1% bonus might every single time she levels up. And that means the cats will have a ton of damage, so I said, you know what, I'll go for it. The problem is, I have to replace it with something, and that something is Attract Orb for Labora, or Duplicator, which we don't use an evolution of, we don't use the Thunder Loop, so that's not a big deal, but losing 2 projectiles, that is a lot. So I also decided to maybe go for Heaven Sword instead of Death Spiral. This is what you would usually use. Good idea, again. I don't think that's true. I should have just stayed with the Death Spiral. It's a lot better. It hits so many enemies, it's a ton better. But now we're at a point where I know I can't die. If I die, it's just over, I'll reset. And yes, this run took a ton of resets. As you can see, it started at 19 minutes. What I was resetting for is 4 empty tomes on the map. So this was not just a random start, you know, and I got 4 empty tomes instantly. I reset a lot of times, and the other resets happened when my start was super poor and I couldn't really level up. In this case, I kind of wanted to reset. I'm behind. Yeah, I'm actually behind. But I got so many schools levels that I said, I'll keep it. I'll keep it. Not getting that early is horrible, so I decided to keep it. Now here we have Purr-GATTO-Ry, and this is a really rough one. I can't lose it. It's really important that I don't lose it. It's a rare passive weapon, and it shows up super rarely. You know, that's the point of rare weapons. And if I lose it, it doesn't get the bonus of being shown to you just because you already own it. So in case you don't notice, there's a very high chance that every level up you get something offered as a level up, as an upgrade, that you already own. But if you don't own it anymore, it just applies the base values of the rarity. And Purr-GATTO-Ry, spoiler, it's really rare. So if you lose that, it makes it super difficult to find it again. Why do I not want to lose Purr-GATTO-Ry? Well, I will lose one of them just to get bonus stats, eventually at one point. But right now I have to keep it until I evolve Purr-GATTO-Ry, right? And then I'll lose it. And you could say, yeah, but why would you ever want to lose the revivals? Purr-GATTO-Ry is a lot better if you have revivals with bonus damage, with more beams. Yes, but the stats are just superior. The stats that you get out of all the revivals is just insane. So it's just better. Right now I think I'm thinking of what I'll drop. I will go for Spinach, since the Hellfire belongs to the main build, and I wanted to experiment with that, and see how well does it perform. Can I maybe go for something else? Hellfire would probably be the first one that I drop, in this run at least, for levels. Not for, you know, a kill amount. For kill amount it's amazing, but maybe for levels, but I'm not too sure. It honestly feels really good. I gotta say, we'll see that later how it performs, but yeah, it just feels good. So I'm maxing out the guns, and you can see I'm just shredding all of these enemies. It's no longer a big issue to actually die, as long as you stutter move a bit. And yeah, I'm just healing more than they can deal damage to me. Now, whenever you see chickens, I try to not pick them up. That's the whole point of getting Clover, you know, that the cats eat the chickens. Every single time they do that, they gain a 1.1 multiplier to interact with something they come across with. So, scratching you, attacking an enemy, attacking another cat, or picking up an item that is on the floor. You know, you want to have that really high, and the luck is really beneficial, as it also reduces the chance that they will scratch me. It also amplifies all the other chances that they happen more often. So luck and chickens, they work like a charm together. Was Center Water still the right choice? I don't think so. In fact, I didn't want it in hindsight. The only reason why I had it was, originally, I didn't plan for Clover. Like, I saw it, I thought about it for a minute, and I decided, yes, I'll give it a try, but I think I already had Center Water. At least I hope. Otherwise, I didn't put, like, any thought in that. That was then bad. I would have probably went for Death Spiral, and later on made a different decision for an Arcana to go for the crit one. I will not go for the crit one in here, but I think that would have been so much better. Like, a lot better. And then you can make Clover work. And if you're really lucky and get a ton of chickens, these cats become killer machines. Even on level 200 plus, where the enemies have thousands of HP, like normal enemies, not bosses, normal enemies, they shred them as they attack 33 times a second. And potentially even more because of how the game works. It's a bit too in-depth to explain that, but let's just say multi-hits can lead to a lot of cases where they cancel each other out, the delay that they have to attack the enemy, and suddenly they attack a lot more, in theory up to 1000 times a second. Reality-wise, that will not happen, but in theory, it could be possible. So yeah, now it's just survival, the boss is dead, let's get the chest, what do we get out of that? The kitty! Nice, well, that's, I guess it's fine. You don't really need to level them up, they just have to eat, but being faster, getting around faster, and so on, of course, helps a ton. So, for you to understand what's the plan for the next 5 minutes pretty much, or 4 minutes I would say. I have to keep Tiramisu, otherwise at 10 minutes I can't evolve the guns into Farachi, and I don't even think Farachi is good. I think the only reason why you do that is to get rid of one weapon, right? After losing all of the revivals, it's just so much worse, which makes sense, it totally makes sense. Point is rather, I mean, I don't evolve it because it's good, I evolve it just for the weapon slot. So the cats are eating. I'm still here right now as there were a ton of chickens on the floor. And I want them to eat them first before I move out. And where will I move? I will move over to the empty tome and get ready that I can pick it up at 10 minutes. The moment I evolve, I will instantly... Well, okay, not instantly. That's actually wrong. I have to look for Duplicator first. That's not an easy task. Duplicator is also a rare passive weapon with a rarity of 50. 100 is common. Bone has a 1. But the most rare passive weapon in the game is, as far as I know, Tiramisu at 40. And the cats have 50, right? Like, a lot of the things have 50. 50 is rare, meaning it's twice as unlikely to show up as a common weapon. Which is a lot, if you only have 3 options offered, right? There's a vacuum. This would be amazing if I could get that, but a cat snagged it the moment before it went off. Since there's a ton of experience to my right, this would have been amazing. And yeah, cats have a chance to pick up items, as you know. But for non-chickens, if the chance fails, like let's say the chance triggers and it says, yes, interact with this item, then it will check with the current chance, multiply it with your luck, and if that then fails, then it will not get activated. Or in the case of the NFT, the cat will explode. In the case of the freeze, the cat will freeze. Otherwise, if it succeeds, it will just trigger it, right? Except for the NFT. They will always explode. Right, I'm wrong there. So, yeah, cat's already level 8. That's amazing. I see the X constantly there, and I'm thinking, do I really want to go for Heaven's Sword, or do I just pick the X now? But yeah, I don't know. One of the things that I require is pentagram. I'm just waiting here, the enemies are too strong, so I'm just saying, you know what, I'll not walk around, I'll just wait in the cat fight until it ends. I was sure it was about to end, but it's still going on. Like, that duration is really, really long now in comparison to prior. That was surprising. But now the tough wave is over, the strong enemies are gone, now the weak ones are in there. Even if they hit me, you see my health barely goes down with +8 armor. That is a ton. And yeah, it's relaxed. Even when I hit the boss, I think, he doesn't deal a lot of damage. But I still have to be careful to not die, of course. I can't lose the Tiramisu. Otherwise, the run is over. So the rest of the video will be mostly gathering chickens. I'm really undecided about this. The thing is, you want to maximize the cats, how they kill the enemies, and what they do. Which means, technically speaking, your goal should be to have the entire screen covered and then slightly move to one side, that half of the cat fight happens off screen. In case you don't know that, the enemies spawn in an area around you. It's 50% of the screen size into all directions. That's where they spawn. So if you can put a weapon into there, they pretty much get kill spawned. I mean, kill spawned. Spawn killed, right? They spawn, they die, and then they instantly respawn with a slight minimum delay that they have to, well, achieve. And that means you can maximize kills as much as possible. This is the main way how Labora is used. You get one big puddle, like by walking to the right, they all accumulate in a big puddle, and then you walk back, that all the enemies spawn on the other side, and then you walk forward. And you just keep repeating that, they spawn, it's big enough that it kills all of them, and it's just GG. That is pretty much how it works. Now, most of this only works because this character gains 1% might, as I mentioned. Otherwise, we would just eventually die because we overlevel. But Gorgeous Moon works perfectly fine here. With cats, it would be a slight problem to do this entire thing, as you can't guarantee to get all the experience before the Reaper kills you, right? If the cats keep picking up vacuums, you can't guarantee that you have one on the floor to use it at, let's say, 29:58. 58 that you have enough time that the experience flies to you. And once you level up, you become invulnerable. The Reaper can't kill you anymore. But the cats make this a bit of a problem. And yes, they are in fact that good. It's worth it to go through this gamble. Now it's time to wait until 10 minutes, then I can get rid of Tiramisu once we have Purr-GATTO-Ry. Which, yeah, well, can't change that. I was considering if there is maybe a way that I can skip the entire process, start with Empty Tome super early. But level-wise, they don't give a lot of experience. The enemies you kill early on, and you still kill a majority, right? It would just, well, it would quite significantly improve it. But even if you get more attack speed, like cooldown translates to attack speed, right? 50% cooldown reduction in total would double how fast you attack, given that some weapons, yes, they do have an animation length, animation time that it requires to go through. I'm just wording it in a very simple way. But point is, the reason why certain weapons simply can't go lower than to maximum degree is because of this animation time. There are others, like for example Pentagram. Pentagram simply can't go lower than 15 seconds. It's hard-coded, it will always take 15 seconds. Now here I'm facing a slight issue. I want to upgrade Fire Wand next, and I'm using the level ups right now to banish stuff, just to be at a higher level when I skip later on, and get 20% extra experience. Like whenever you skip, you get 20% free experience. So I'm wasting this time to banish, and since I don't need to max out anything, it's good. I wanted a Clover, cats picked it up, totally useless, does nothing for them. Temporarily, for a couple seconds, increases the speed by a lot, but once the cat despawns, it's just gone, as if it never happened. Banishing also helps to find the duplicator. Right, I don't know if I said the tractor, but there we go, there's duplicator. A rare passive weapon, so I'm really happy that I just got it there. And now I can finally pick up the Empty Tome. There's also Pentagram. I'm not sure, I don't think I pick it yet. Yeah, I skip it. The reason is I can banish twice, which means 2 levels later I can use the skips now just because of that. I do want Pentagram, right? Nothing changed about that. It's just that the skips happen 2 levels later. You could even wait way longer by not combining Purr-GATTO-Ry this early, but you kind of waste a lot of time, right? You need to keep the guns, you're missing out one weapon. It's not that amazing. Like, I don't think it's worth it. Even 20% on level 280, I don't think that would justify it. Here's the Arcana, and the Arcana that I'm going for is the Hellfire one. Given the enemies are rather weak right now, the explosion will just shred them. At least whenever it goes for them, right? The biggest problem with Hellfire is you can't really aim it. Or let's say, there's very little influence that you can have on the weapon to make sure that it actually hits a lot of enemies. If it shoots down, that's just it. If it shoots to the sides, that's amazing. You can walk with it, it will hit more. That's really great. But, yeah, it's a gamble where it shoots. So now I'm still trying to avoid level 8 on other weapons. Pentagram is not fine. Center Water is fine, because it can't be evolved. It doesn't matter if it gets to level 8. I think for some reason I try to skip it as much as possible to not go for Center Water. In my mind, I'm still evolving it to Labora. Not that I actively think I will evolve it, but the build is with Labora. And at one point I realized that, yeah, I don't need that. But I don't want to max out Pentagram. I want to level it up. I want to make sure that it's soon ready to be evolved, but I don't want to max it out. Hellfire is the first one that I want to do. Is that the best one? I'm pretty sure it is. Heaven Sword is definitely not the best one. I can't get Labora. This would be the one that Hellfire would fight with, I would assume. And the other option would be Pentagram, but it doesn't really help you, right? What is 20% more experience if you can double your kill count with Hellfire? it's nothing, is the answer. Yeah, and there's the chest, so this should be Hellfire, and there we go. And as you can see, whenever it goes into enemies, it will shred them. By the way, nothing in this video is perfect, okay? I'm not good at these level record videos. I don't exactly know how they work. I do have a lot of experience in the game, so that does apply to when I do stuff, but nothing is optimized, right? And if you're good at a game, I would say that makes up 90% of these runs, that you can perform them really well. You get to 90% of the level of top runners, but the problem is top runners, like the last 10% requires like 90% of the effort to learn it. It's usually like always like this, right? With everything that you do, 20% of the effort to finish 80% of a project or task, and the last 20% take 80% of the total effort, so 4 times more. The same story here, of course. To fine-tune, to optimize, to know exactly when to do what, I'm lacking that. I don't have that. So there will be a lot of mistakes in that regard, and if I would have them, then my level would, of course, be way, way higher. I think I'm considering my options, what I can do. If I should just go for Pentagram. I'm not sure. I think I went for Pentagram, given it immediately exploded. And I think, yeah, I want to max it out to use the chest down there to evolve it. But I picked up a red gem that gave me too many levels. I'm skipping here. This is the point where you do skip. And I hoped it wouldn't max out, but now I have to pick up the chest once the timing for Pentagram is hit. And the timing is 13:15. And luckily it evolved into Gorgeous Moon. If not, it also wouldn't be a big deal. I would wait for the next boss, I would check for the next timing, and it's pretty much the way you calculate the timing of Pentagram is the animation time is 12 seconds. Since this goes off the moment you evolve the weapon, you have to add this on top of the current time, and then you add 33 seconds for the rest of the game, right? And your goal is to blast off with Gorgeous Moon at 29:58. Enough time that it still collects all experience, but not too much that you don't kill a lot of enemies and don't get the experience. Like if you let it blast off at 29:40, then the last 20 seconds you have to manually get experience and you'll miss a lot of experience. Unless you randomly get a vacuum drop, but you don't want to gamble in runs like this. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Oh, I actually gotta check. Is it 33 seconds? Let me check. Yeah, it's 33 seconds. Perfect. One thing you really have to make sure of when you evolve Gorgeous Moon and go for the timing thing, your empty tome has to be maxed out. If your empty tome is not maxed out, then the timing will be off, right? You make a calculation based on the 33 seconds, but let's say empty tome has only 3 levels in it, then it will not take 33 seconds, it will take longer until it's maxed out, and your timing is off. And since the timing is so tight, if it takes just 2 seconds longer, it will blast off at 30 minutes, so it will not kill anything, and, well, that's horrible. So, having 2 missing levels in Empty Tome is a lot worse than just 2 seconds. It's like, I think, 10 seconds or so. Yeah, probably 10 seconds. Oh, maybe actually... Ooh, it might be a bit more. Whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? You get the point. Timing, empty tome has to be maxed out and then you do it. So now it's the rest of the weapons. I think... No, I actually have all the evolutions here. Okay, so the rest is just farming. This one, I'm really not too sure how to do it. I tried several things in the video and checked how many kills I'm getting, and I was not satisfied with any of them. So right now I'm just walking around to collect chickens, right? I determined for myself the best one is probably just to get chickens. And then I decided whenever center water is at a border and the cats are fighting there, then I will just walk left, right, so the enemies switch spawn from left side, right side. In fact, you can just stand still, it just speeds it up a tiny bit. And they will instantly walk into this cloud of attacks. But I'm constantly arguing with myself, should I collect chickens to have stronger cats? Because even if I kill less the entire run, let's say 10% less, if I then double the kills on the final wave, that gives 30 experience per kill. And mind you, most enemies give 1 experience or 3. That's a ton. Every kill that you do there is worth 10 or 30 enemies killed. It's a lot. And that's why in these level runs, whenever someone picks up a rosary, you see that they get an enormous amount of levels. Now I just left a tile set over there. There was a rosary on the floor. And what I want to do is, once we hit 29 minutes, I want to walk over from this tile set here to the other one and pick up the rosary. If I stay around, the cats will pick up the rosary, they will trigger it, I can't save it for 29 minutes. I just had the idea, you know, maybe I could just pick it up by walking over. The funny part is, I think that's even worse. Because if you walk over, all the cat fights that happen there, the scuffles, they are gone, right? Once they go off screen, too far, they despawn. And you lose so much damage and so many kills that a rosary doesn't make up for it. Like 2 seconds of cat scuffles pretty much is an equivalent of 1 rosary, kill-wise. So, yeah. I mean, okay, it depends where the scuffles are, but if you cover the entire screen, which is not unlikely with the high luck we have, then it's really not worth it to waste all the scuffles and the cats reset and have to find each other again to fight just for a rosary. So I think there was another rosary down on the floor. So again, I switched tile set. In the end, this is not what I did, but for another reason. There were other rosaries in this tile set here. I noticed this very late, and somehow the cats didn't pick them up. I think because I was too far away, but I'm not too sure about the entire thing. And yeah. Right now the witches, they are quite strong. They have 320 HP, but what is 320 HP? A set value, by the way, on them. Now that I'm thinking about it, the witches that I'm talking about are probably the ones at 24 or 25 minutes. The thing is, they're actually both called Witch. This one here is, I think, called Witch 1, and the other one is called Witch 2. And that's where the confusion is coming from. But just given how tanky these ones usually are, I really think they have fixed health. It's just set. If you do the clergy no movement at the table for the Reaper kill strategy, these are the first enemies that get close to you and could in theory kill you. But I think they have way less health. Maybe 60 or so, and then it's doubled with the 100% curse, so 120. And the witches later, they must be the one that have the base 160, doubled by curse, so 320. But yeah, the farming obviously is not that difficult. We are right now, what, level 139, 140. 140 is 139% bonus might, 1% on every level up, not like counting the very first level. Yeah, that's a lot, right? And as you can see, Hellfire, whenever it goes through the enemies, it kills all of them. And I think, maybe, if I do this in the future again, I will not use Hellfire, and I will obviously not use Heaven's Sword, but I'm not sure what to go for yet. It's a bit of a tough decision. Maybe I can get a full crit build going with knives. Knives kill a huge amount of enemies, but I don't think they'll be good for level runs. For kill runs, sure, they could be amazing. For level runs, no, I don't think so. They just don't hit enough. But what could be good is Thunderloop. Now, usually, Thunderloop, amazing, right? It kills all the enemies, but keep in mind here, we reach an insanely high level even before the wave 28-29 starts, and the enemies have a ton of health. The last wave, each one of them has 5 health, multiplied with curse is 10 health, and that multiplied with your level. So if you're level 200 at this point, and we will exceed that, then they have 10 times 200 is 2000 health each. And if you ever have damage numbers on, you'll notice, yeah, that not a lot of weapons get anywhere close to that. Now, the cats, if they have 60 or 100 damage and they attack 33 times a second, in a huge pool, like the Scuffle is not just, you know, one attack, it's a pool that they can walk in, they melt. They melt. They die within 1 second, even faster, and it's pretty much just depending on how fast the enemies walk into it. So that makes the cat weapons so insanely good down the line later on. And yeah, I'm jiggling around. You will see a lot of different moving patterns, mixing the walking over to get the chickens, and now the entire screen is just covered in cats fighting. So I move left and right to trigger the spawning on this side. Whatever side you move to seems to influence highly where they spawn from. And one thing that I noticed that is a bit confusing to me is, when I walk to the left side, I see a ton of enemies appear out of nowhere usually. Like, let's say I walk to the right side like now, and the moment I turn there's a huge mass of enemies, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I have to go into debug mode and check out what happens in the game. Now, the way it works in the game is, if you only walk into one side, they only spawn from that side, no matter how slow you are. There were some issues in the past where it always tried to spawn them on the right side first and then on the left side. That's why all the past, in you know, January, February, a kill record and level runs would walk to the right side instead to get more kills. But this has been fixed, and I need to see this behavior again on debug mode and zoomed out and get a proper understanding of it. Like, not everything really makes sense to me there. If it's bound to your movement speed, and maybe it doesn't even apply to Pugnala. So one thing that could be very interesting is just playing on Giovanna, you know, the new one. She has bonus movement speed, if I'm not mistaken, 20%. I might remember this wrong, but she should become really fast. And even Pugnala, compared to old times, if you have 6 revivals, right, the base 1 that you have from power-ups, the 3 that you have from the Arcana, and the 2 from Tiramisu, gains 30% movement speed. That's a lot. That's way more than you had in the past. Now, here was a decision where I wasn't totally sure on what's the best one to go for, and I decided to go for the projectile speed one. It decreases the projectile speed by 50% and goes up to 200%, so overall it's a huge bonus. It's a huge increase. And I wasn't sure if it would be amazing or not, and I said, you know what, I focus so much on the cats with the food farming and everything. What I'll do here is I'll just go all in on the cats. Hellfire going faster is really good. The faster it goes, the faster it kills the enemies, and the faster they respawn. Now, if you have an insanely slow Hellfire projectile that you can also see here, it will kill way more enemies because it's so slow. Imagine a stationary Hellfire projectile that doesn't move. Yeah, it will kill the enemies for 30 minutes long, but how fast? You know, it will be a way less total than something that has 200% projectile speed, for example. And that also depends. It also depends, but as long as you include the respawn mechanic and not just the math, it makes sense, right? If you just made the math, you would want the projectile to be as slow as possible, so the enemies keep walking into it. Or, in fact, just bouncing around would be better, but that is not a thing in the game. Now, one thing I noticed here, take a close look at Purr-GATTO-Ry. Something must have updated that fixed how it behaves with the projectile speed Arcana. Like, do you see how insanely slow it becomes? And then it starts up and is insanely fast? That was not the case in the past. And that means, yes, I will do another video where I go for Purr-GATTO-Ry with max amount of revivals. Just playing Mortaccio. Mortaccio and Cavallo and what is the other one's name? Bianca, I think? Bianca Ramba. They gain the most projectiles in this game. Yes, you could go for Croce with 2 more revivals, right? So they gain more damage, but you miss out on 1 beam. And the hilarious part is, if you have so many Purr-GATTO-Ry beams, they cover up everything. And I want to check that out. I want to see how good it is, I want to see how good it works. In fact, I don't even want to walk anymore. I just want to stand still. The main benefit there is, if you just stand still, then you don't level up, and you stay on a very, very low level, and the enemies don't become stronger, right? There are problems associated to this, and I talked about it already. Like the enemies that gain, that they have static health, not gain, they have static health. they don't scale with your level. So if you keep yourself lower, but you're also weaker, it will take longer to kill them, but they are more or less a minority in the game, okay? Stretching more or less, but what you could do is just max out your stuff, go for Purr-GATTO-Ry, then only go for passive weapons and see how it performs. Maybe put in a lightning ring. I don't even think it would be worth it, just given how Purr-GATTO-Ry behaves if you have it maxed out like this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced on everything. I do want to make this work at one point, staying level 40, having Purr-GATTO-Ry with the max amount of projectiles so you constantly kill enemies. Like right now, you see there are huge gaps until enemies get hit, but usually we would have 6 more beams with Tiramisu and with the revivals from the power-ups and from the Arcana. Now add another 3 on top. Yeah, it's getting quite stacked if you do that. I think the number was 15 or 16. Oh, was it 16 or 15? Though I do remember someone said that Purr-GATTO-Ry seems to be capped. I don't agree with that. When I was checking out Purr-GATTO-Ry, in fact, let me just do it. I have the file here. There's Purr-GATTO-Ry. The max amount of projectiles that it can have is C8, and I'm 99% sure C8 was 200, right? C8 is hexadecimal, and that translates to 200 in decimal system. Now, there is one thing where it could matter, which is, it could be that only a certain amount of projectiles, I nearly died there by the way, that was, yeah, dangerous, that only a certain amount of revivals get applied to the weapon. Like that somewhere else in the code it says, you can only have this many revivals that increase beams. And it first applies the additional projectiles, the amount, and lastly it does the revivals. But I can just check that out, I can just check it out. If that would be the case, then you could argue that Purr-GATTO-Ry is a lot better at this. Having revivals instead of amounts is just better. Yeah, that's it. They give bonus damage, 10% if I remember it right. So the beams would have 20% more damage, and that's quite a lot. Oh boy, so in case you didn't notice that, in this recording, I think I did like 6 or 7 takes of me saying something. Not because I messed up constantly for once, but the actual reason was I lost interest to keep talking. I didn't know what to talk about anymore. There is this age-old argument of, do I show the entire run? Since, you know, the point is reaching a high level and it doesn't make a lot of sense if I cut out a majority then. Or do I cut it down so it's more interesting? But what really, you know, defies as interesting? What is interesting? Defies is the wrong word. I don't know why I said that. But what qualifies as interesting? Since everything is mostly the same. I could just show the first 10 seconds of every wave, then you have a 5-minute video and it's over. I don't think that would be good. But for me, in post-commentary, especially when I'm tired, it's just like, I can't keep myself awake. I can't do that. And every single time I interrupt, I put it into the recording software, not the recording software, into my editor, and then I listen to it, since sometimes I cough, I want that to be cut out. If it's ever in there, I just missed it. But at one point, I'm like, I can't listen to my own voice anymore. It's annoying. I don't know how you guys do it, but I myself, I can't stand hearing myself talk. And regardless, we are still in the video, we are still in the game. 3 minutes are left. These are the spiciest minutes, and you'll see, most of the time, now I determined I will not gather any more chickens. And what I'll do instead is, I'll try to get the clouds towards the end of the screen. But then I also realize, the more I do this, the more of the enemies spawn to my left side. So it's like, great that I kill more on the right side, but then it takes way longer to kill on the left side. So at one point I say, you know what, I'll stand still, I'll just hope that the cats cover the entire screen like we had it a couple of times, and that will be the gamble. Yeah, down there, by the way, did you see 2 rosaries? I don't want to pick them up, so I think I'll walk over to the right side now, and not go back to the left side, so the cats don't pick them up accidentally. Good that I say that, by the way, and instantly walk over. Big brain decks. But it somewhat looks like I'm too far away from them. It shouldn't be. This is definitely within their pickup range. But maybe the chickens, for those, they have... No, that's also not true. You know, I had a run where I went to 340 minutes, I think. And they picked up everything down there. Since the position that you saw me in there is the main position I stand. It's above the 10 candles where you still destroy them, but they are outside of your vision range, which means they spawn faster. Everything that is within your vision range only spawns candles in the spots where they are supposed to be if there are already a max amount of candles on the map. So if there are 10 in the tiles that you're in the entire map, then it will take the furthest one away from you and spawn it as close as possible. That is slower. That is slower because I think it's not affected by luck or so. But as you can see, we're getting a lot of levels. We crossed 200, by the way. Yeah, I totally missed that. Good job, Dex. But this is a lot of experience here. Yeah, these witches here, those are the ones that get 30 experience. And those are the ones that are tanky. Oh, do I mess it up again? I mean, looking how... No, I think those are the ones. We have currently over 200% bonus might, then 50% from spinach, 25% from our power-ups. So our Purr-GATTO-Ry does a lot of damage. Yeah. So now it's just hoping scuffles happen. The moment we hit 29 minutes, I will wait a bit until I kill all of this wave. These spinach heads, by the way, they give, I think, 1 experience point each. It's a joke. Like, it's nothing. And it's sad that there are so many of them in this wave. It's totally useless. But now I'll wait. Then I'll move over, once they're all dead from the 28 minutes, I'll move over and I'll pick up the rosary down there. That is the goal, for some additional levels. It doesn't make the biggest difference, not because the rosaries are bad, don't get me wrong, but do you see how many enemies there are? Not that many, most of them die to the cats. So the actual value of the rosary in here is way less than if you had worse weapons. Duh, makes sense. But if you watch older recordings where people say, yeah, rosary is super important, most important thing, you have to rely on that. Well, now that kind of changed. Now you just go for the cats and a strong weapon. And I shouldn't move here. I don't even know why I'm moving. Yeah. I think I wanted to move over the scuffle. I shouldn't do that. At this point, just stand still. Try to get as many kills as possible. If you have labor, that's something else. But the more you move, the less scuffles will create, the less kills you'll make. And maybe here, even the 1000 edge would be really good. To just decimate them from the side where they can still spawn. I mean, it's kind of a lot of them, right? This was actually quite unlucky. Like, there are not a lot of scuffles going on, so I get way less experience than you would usually get. But this is the last blast off. We crossed the 250 mark, which is respectable. I was really scared they'd pick up the freezes down there and freeze all the enemies, so I get way less kills since they don't walk into the scuffles. And now I tried to get the freeze and get the attract orb, but it was too late. Whatever. Here's the final end screen, and as you can see, Gatto-Ry, 40 million damage. That is very solid. I hope you enjoyed it.